Okay, so today we've got Steve Rawlinson from Samuel Knight. You all right, Steve?
I'm not bad, mate. How are you?
Not so bad, not so bad.
Good.
Right, you can do a much better job of introducing yourself than I can. So can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and Samuel Knight?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Steve Rawlinson, founder of Samuel Knight Group of Companies. Set the business up in March 2000, a specialist staffing company. And over the last 11 years, it's evolved into a group of companies that essentially offer consultancy services to the renewable energy and technology data center market. As I say, been going 11 years this March. Predominantly work with solar, wind, battery energy storage and transmission distribution companies, as well as tech corps and EPCs. Located in Newcastle, head office is in Newcastle, currently employing around about 100 staff now. We've also got offices in Dallas, Chicago and Boston, and then we've got an office down in Bristol as well. And yeah, that's the business in a nutshell, really.
Nice. Well, obviously we want to touch on Samuel Knight as well on this episode, but I'm interested in particular in yourself and like how you founded the company and like you go back, to your early kind of days.
Yeah.
Before you founded it. Did you always want to have your own business?
It's a good question. I mean, as a young kid, I was always, I never really thought of myself as an entrepreneur. I had this addiction. My parents had told me from a really young age, I had this addiction to, like whenever I got pocket money or whenever I got toys, I would try and sell them and like keep this money. And I never really knew where that came from. And when my parents started telling me this, I thought, oh, well, it's a bit strange. Maybe I was missing something in my life as a child. I don't know, but I was borrowing all my money underneath me bed. Maybe I was thinking I was going to piss off. So did I always want to have my own company? Probably not. No, if I'm honest, I got into business. I left home at 17. I wanted to join the army. And my dad wouldn't sign me in back in the day when you were 16. Your parents had to sign you in. And he said, no, I'm not. I want to be a paratrooper. And he said, no, I'm not signing you in. You can wait until you're 18 and sign yourself in. So I thought, right, well, I'm going to have to do something. I got expelled from school. I was a bit of a knacker. And I remember seeing an advert saying live and work in Ibiza, selling holiday homes. And I was 17, jumped on a plane, moved over to Ibiza, stayed in Ibiza for 4 years. And then my partner at the time, who's the mother of my children, she fell pregnant with my son, who's now 21, moved to Newcastle. I'm originally from Stoke, and there's nothing in Stoke. I mean, there's no jobs or anything. So I was like, well, I'm definitely not going back there. So I fell into recruitment at a really young age. I think I was about 23. And if I'm honest, I thought, this is it. I'm going to work here for the rest of my life. I was earning good money. I had a good career. And I stayed there for 8 years and things just didn't pan out like that, So in all fairness, no, probably didn't want my own company. I didn't even know what being an entrepreneur or being a business owner would entail. I just wanted work for a good company that, I had job security, good earnings, so I could give my son, a nice life, I guess. That was kind of my younger life aspiration.
Yeah. So suppose looking back, you can see them kind of entrepreneurial tendencies, shall we call them, when you were younger, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, now, obviously, as a grown man who's 40, I'm a big fan of psychology, and I look back on my life, and it's funny because when I do talks at unis and they're like, you founded this business 11 years ago and you took the risk, and, now fast forward, 11 years later, it's an amazing organization. And I'm proud to be the CEO and I'm proud to be the founder. I probably do see them traits. I was always career focused, maybe not wanting to be a business owner, but I was definitely career focused. So, I wanted to progress my career. I wanted to give my family a nice life, and I wanted that sense of achievement. That probably stems from being a child and not really having much going for me. I was always good at school in terms of clever. But then when I got to about 14, 15, I got in with the wrong crowd, started doing dumb shit like you do as a teenager. And, quite quickly was told, you're not going to amount to anything if you don't sort your stuff, if you don't sort your shit out, you're not going to amount to anything.
Yeah.
And that just wasn't what I wanted out of my life. So I can see them tendencies. I was career focused. I was driven. I was
Wow.
motivated to be successful. And I did quite well in my first job in recruitment. You know, I was 23, 24 years old. I became a director of that business before I was 30.
Mm.
And it just so happens, you know, in that role, I met some really inspiring individuals. You know, our CEO was a guy called Clive Chapman, and he passed away on Mount Everest. But I remember meeting him, and he had this sense of aura around him. He was 50 years old. He was fit. You know, he was motivational when he stood up and he did his talks. And I thought, Christ, you know, if I can be half the man he is when I'm 50, you know, I've done well in my life. And he passed away on Mount Everest, and we got this new CEO, and his mindset was completely different from Clive's. And I've been in Disney for about 7 years at this point, and I was a big, you know, I was quite a, I was one of the senior leaders, and we hit the recession in 2009, 2010, and you know, he had this weak mindset, and that wasn't me. You know, I think adversity creates champions. So I was going to go off and set up on my own in 2009. I met another individual called Paul Beak. And it's funny how life works, isn't it? Because Paul Beak is now my chairman at Samuel Knight. So I moved to London. Me and the mother of my children, we unfortunately split up. But you know, we remained friends, and you know, we had we had a good relationship, co-parenting as two children. But I moved to London, and I was working with this chap called Paul Beak. And again, such an inspiring character. You know, he built and scaled, you know, 3 or 4 companies at that time. And when he spoke with conviction. And I thought, God, like, I want to learn from you. So that's another part of my life. And then I lived in London for 2 years. And then I was like, right, I'm going to go and set up on my own. I'm going to move back to Newcastle because my daughter was getting to an age where I didn't really want to sacrifice her childhood, where I was missing out key things. You know, I'm really close to my son and my daughter. So I moved back to Newcastle, was going to set up on my own, and then I'm offered a director's job with a massive company called Michael Page. And I thought, wow, okay, you know, this is amazing. I'm going to be working with Michael Page. I'm still under the age of 30. I'm going to be a director of Michael Page, and one day I'll be the CEO of this £1 billion business. And you know, and I worked there for 2 years, loved my job. But again, their mindset was just, the reason that Samuel Knight came about, if I'm honest, right, was when I was working for a big corporate. When you've gone from a corporate environment, so I worked at ATA, that was a corporate environment, safe, secure, good earnings, and I'm not on a ledge. You know, I'm like, it's not my responsibility to scale and grow the company. I just have to do my job that they're paying me to do. And if I do that well, I've got job security. Then obviously went and worked for this inspiring entrepreneur who, you know, really is been key to who I am today. And then I wanted to come back to Newcastle to be close to my family. And then I got sold a dream to work at, you know, Michael Page. And I thought, the way that this individual had put it to me was, look, you can go and be the CEO of your own company that you might be able to get to 10 million turnover or 10 to 15 million turnover. But one day we don't have anyone like you in our business. We're all quite mature in age and whatnot. One day you could be the CEO of Michael Page. That's £1 billion business. So you decide which is the best option for your career. And I was like, wow, God, geez, I could be the CEO of Michael Page here. This is, then when you go back into that corporate world and you see the mindsets of these individuals, I class them as old dinosaurs. And no offense to Michael Page, they built an amazing business, you know, but nothing evolved, nothing changed. They were still working the same way as they were in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s as they were in the modern day. And my industry was evolving. So I've always been specialized in renewable energy. And my industry was evolving, and I needed to be adaptable. As a business director, I needed to be adaptable, and I needed to change the way that I was working within Michael Page. And Michael Page was so like risk adverse. And I remember sitting there and thinking, you know what? I've done this for 10 years. I'm pretty good at what I do. People don't work with me because of the brand that's behind me. People work with me because I'm a subject matter expert in renewable energy, and I can find the right solution for them. So I'm going to go off and set up on my own, and that's kind of where where I had, you know, I had a bit of money behind me. I'd done well, and I thought, you know, I'm gonna go off on my own. I'll hire, say, 5 to 10 people, build a great business that's got a nice culture, and I will be adaptable. I will be flexible. I'll build this great business.
Yeah.
And that's how the start of Samuel Knight came. I remember sitting at my dinner table and sitting there and telling my partner, Luke, I'm going to resign from my job as a director of Samuel Knight. I'm probably not going to be earning any money for a year or so, but I believe in myself, and I really did believe in myself at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because everybody I spoke to, I'm going to resign from my job, and they were all saying, "What are you doing? Why are you going to quit your job? You're 30 years old and you've got this amazing career ahead of you. Like you're from." Even my parents were like, "You're from Stoke. Like look how much you've achieved in your career. Just stay on this path and and keep that security that you've got." And I thought, well, no job's ever secure because if I don't bring anything to the table, I'm not secure anyway. I'm a business development manager. If things go one year, you can be a hero. The next year, you can be, someone that they want to bully. So what job is ever secure? And I thought, you know what? I can go out there, I can create my own success, my own story, and see where I get to. Mm-hmm. And as I say, I remember sitting around my dinner table and all my family, my friends were saying, "Don't do it, Steve, don't do it." And that even, that just gave me even more of a motivation to say, actually, you're wrong. I can do this. And that was literally how Samuel Knight was born on the 14th of March in 2014.
In that period of time, so you talk there about belief, right? I understand as well what you're saying, like you had certain people along the way before you started Samuel Knight that maybe inspired you a little bit. Yeah. And like helped you look at a certain direction. But when you talk about belief and family, so there'll be people watching this that'll maybe thinking of moving jobs or setting on a business up, right? And it's a common thing. I had this to a certain degree. I think everyone does that starts a business or makes a change. But like your family with good intent, right, want to protect you.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that, right? So on one side, you've got people close to you saying, don't do it. So what for you, where did the belief come from? Do you know, or was it a particular moment, or have you always had a belief in yourself? I know you said when you were younger.
I've always had a belief. If I look at like my family life, I've got that typical middle child syndrome. So I've got an older brother who was the firstborn, and he was like the firstborn. Oh, baby Davy. And then there was me that came along and I was the bit of a black sheep. I didn't really form or follow rules. And then my younger brother was born. So he was the baby. So you had the firstborn and the baby. And I was just kind of left to my own devices. Like literally, it was like, oh, don't worry about Steve. He's fine. Like, if we're going out for the day as a family, they're going one way, he's going another way. Steve will be fine, just leave him to himself. So I kind of, I did kind of bring myself up. So I've only, before my children, I've only really ever had myself when I was a child. My mum and dad will probably admit they probably didn't show me the love and compassion that they showed the other boys, but it's fine. I accept that because the way that they were with me allowed me to be who I am today. And I've got a great relationship with and I'm pleased the way that they brought me up. So so what came from that was that self-belief that it's just me. This is me. This is my life. I have to be my best friend for the next 85, 90 years. And if I push and believe in myself, I can achieve whatever I want. And I've always had that. More so in a career, like progressing achievement and doing well for myself, not so much as like now who I am today as an entrepreneur. So yeah, no, I've always had that belief and that self-worth that, I'm good.
And do you, in terms of say like, because you see what you went to London, for being from Stoke, I could understand that move was different.
Yeah.
In terms of like culture, do you know when you need other organisations, these big £1 billion organisations?
Yeah.
And then you've got 100 staff now, right? So how you've got like things like belief, things like that, right? But in terms of culture and the culture you have now, have you been influenced in how you like nurture your culture based on the corporate cultures you've been in?
No, not at all. Yeah, there's a lot of facades. In the corporate world down in London, right? There was a lot of facades there. Acting or pretending to be something that they're not. When you drop a northerner like me into that kind of world. You know, I hit it with a straight bat. As my friends say, Steve, what you've achieved in life is amazing because you're counsel. And I was brought up in a counsel estate, and I've always had that kind of like cocky twang and that like fuck it, I don't care what I say, I'll just hit it with a straight bat, and that's kind of done me well in my life. You're sitting in a board meeting with all these corporate yuppies and whatnot, and they've got these facades of, well educated, but they're not being themselves. You can see that they're not being themselves. And then you stick me there, and, my director or the CEO of a big corporate asked me a question, and I'm just like, it's not going to happen. That's whatever these guys say, that's not going to happen. And they respected that. And the fact that maybe I do come across, maybe not so much now because I have matured, I'm 43, so Christ, I hope I've matured. But in my younger days in business, I would be like, had no filter. But I never really questioned that about myself because that's what's well with my people around me. And I didn't want that corporate culture in Samuel Knight. What I wanted was an entrepreneurial togetherness, transparency, tenacity, and hard work. And no bullshit. Like, look, if I'm here doing it and you're here doing it, we'll achieve great things. And I think the culture that I've built at Samuel Knight, not just me, but the management team as well, is one of freedom thinking, hard work, entrepreneurial, and free spirit. Like, be who you want to be and achieve the things that you want to achieve. And that's kind of the culture, that has evolved throughout Samuel Knight. And that's from myself and, the other leaders within this business, because I came up with the idea of Samuel Knight, but one man can't build great things. And it's that famous saying where it's, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And if I look at the senior leadership now, there's people in a senior leader position at Samuel Knight now. And they all are part of the journey that we've been on. My COO was my first ever hire, and he's probably one of the most inspiring individuals within the business. He's got good values, he's likable, and he's just hardworking, and he's a mirror carbon copy of me. And I'm sure he would say the same as what I say about him is, I inspire him, he inspires me, my finance director, my managing directors, we've all got that kind of same value and the same belief is what I've. And maybe they didn't have it when he first joined Samuel Knight. Maybe I created that, who knows? But what we've created between us as a leadership team is the best leadership team I've ever worked with. It's unbelievable.
And do you think, in terms of leadership, it's an interesting topic, this, in terms of, I hear what you're saying, like, the people around you, particularly the senior leadership team, have a huge influence on the culture, as do you, right?
Yeah.
In terms of leadership, and I ask everyone this question because I see it both in sport and business, right? And there's no right or wrong answer, really. But in your opinion, do you think leaders are born or are they nurtured?
It's a very good question. I think it's a bit of both. Maybe you born with them leadership qualities, though, because for me, you have to have them leadership qualities where you're not afraid to take a bullet for somebody. We don't have any managers in Samuel Knight, right? Because a manager to me is somebody who sits at the back and dictates what needs to be done. Leaders in my organization, and my definition of a leader is at the front, showing the guys how to be successful, inspiring them, supporting them, and motivating them. And I don't think you're born with them qualities. I think you're born with them qualities, but I think they can be nurtured as well. But I definitely think more so you have to have that leadership quality from a really young age. If I think about when I used to play football, I was always trying to be the captain. If I think of when I used to go on leadership weekends with ATA, I would be the one that was saying to the guys, right, you do that, I'll do this. I'm going to do the hardest job. You do that, and we'll get this right. And it's always about, for me, it's about being at the front. That leadership is being at the front. And I do think you are born with them qualities, because there's individuals in Samuel Knight that are amazing at their job, but they would never, ever want to step into a leadership position. Never. Because, you're putting yourself on a ledge where you're prepared. If you step into that leadership role, you have to be prepared to face adversity, to take criticism from yourself and from other people, You put yourself on a ledge where if shit goes wrong, it's on your head. That no one sees, it's on your head. If this fails, it's on you. And some people don't want that. Some people like sitting behind that and going, "Hey, listen, I didn't do that. It was it." And so, yeah, I think you're born with it, but it can be nurtured. Some qualities can be nurtured as well.
Yeah, I think another interesting part of that with leadership. Okay, so it's just different to other roles, right? But also there's the pressure on, say, a company of your size and the leadership team, right? How yourself and also as an organization, how do you handle like the challenging times? And have you had challenging times since you founded it? I'm sure you have. But how do you navigate challenges in terms of in stress and things like work-life balance mixed in with all of that? Because for me, it's like a person is a person, right? And you go home, and especially in a leadership position, you go home and it's still all in your head. You might be at home, but are you actually still present, right? Because you're still thinking about work. You still got the challenges in your head.
I think that comes down to that does come when adversity, when challenges have come to Samuel Knight. It is on the CEO. It is, you are the chief executive officer. So if shit hits the fan, it's on you to steer the ship away from any storms. But so if I think about some of the challenges that we've faced, we've had loads of challenges. If someone had said to me 11 years ago, this is the map that you're going to go on over the next 11 years, and these are every single challenge that you're going to face, would it have deferred me from setting up the business? No, but I would have approached them challenges maybe with a different, with more of a plan. But then would I have got out of the challenges that I've faced? I'll give you an example. So when we first started the business, I got sued by Michael Page. So that was a bit of a challenge. Couldn't trade in the UK, which, for the last 10 years, all of my business had been in the UK, and I got a Tomlin order on me, and I physically couldn't trade in the UK. If I did trade, it became a criminal offence. It took me to high court. It was a serious like breach of my contract. So at the time I was in that storm, I was thinking, Jesus, this is serious. I'm in a lot of bother here. And my ability to deal with adversity was, well, you know what? We'll just trade in a different country, which is how Samuel Knight International came about. So we started trading in the Middle East, and that accelerated the growth of Samuel Knight by 400%. And if I hadn't have got that Tomlin audit, would I have just done what I was doing at my company? So that really elevated us past, I think in 2 years, we went from a standing still to 10.4 million in sales within 2 years. So for me, how I look at challenges and adversity is I am here, and this is where I'm supposed to be to learn. I have to learn. I have to get through this. And now there's nothing that Samuel Knight hasn't been through that I haven't got us through. COVID, for example, we were a staffing business and no one could go to work. Everyone looks at me and says, Steve, are we going to be okay here? Are we going to get through this? And for the first time in Samuel Knight history, I said, you know what? I'm not 100% certain, but I'm going to give you everything I've got to safeguard as many of your jobs as I possibly can and get us through this. In the middle of COVID, I launched Samuel Knight USA, jump on a plane, go to Dallas, win a client, and grow the business by 82% in the middle of COVID, and generated over $8 million worth of revenue in 7 months. That reaction to the situation that Samuel Knight was in not only grew his business in the middle of a global pandemic, but it also safeguarded 95% of people's jobs. That was a massive challenge. And there's been various other challenges that we've been through as well. But, there's nothing that this business hasn't been through that we've not got through with courage, conviction, and confidence. Where the future now is what more can get thrown at Samuel Knight as an organization, or what more can get thrown as me as an entrepreneur, where it would phase me. And it's, I've got a favorite saying, which is my FD loves it because she says, if I ever passed away, she would have it on my headstone. She'd ring me and say, Steve, this is shit hitting the fan. I'd be like, it's okay. Everything will be fine. Literally, everything will be fine. Don't worry. And she's like, how do you know that? And I'm just like, because I know. I'm not afraid of adversity. I'm not afraid of challenges. If it was tough, everybody would do it. I've just got thick skin.
it's funny you say that because I've had challenges in the last 6 years and come through them.
Yeah.
And one of the quotes is a John Lennon quote, very similar to that, which is, everything will be okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it's not the end.
Exactly.
And that literally is carrying me through.
Yeah.
And I think it's things like that, and see like your mindset through adversity and, building up that resilience. And I agree with you that you need to be challenged in order to grow and to learn, right? Well, if we're not challenged, like say going to the gym, isn't it?
Well,
You
you're not
don't work.
elevating. Look, nothing changes. This is how I look at life, right? Nothing changes, or if nothing changes. So what I mean by that is, you can't say you want to achieve these things if you carry on doing the same things. If you're not pushing yourself and you're not trying to achieve bigger and better things, then it's easy. It's like going to the gym, right? So you go to the gym and you think the weights are getting lighter. You're just getting stronger. So you lift more heavier weights. And then you go, oh my God, this is so hard. This is so hard. But what you're doing is you're elevating yourself to go, I started at this level and I get to this level. I started at there and now I want to get there. Now I want to get there. It's like hiking. I'm a big hiker, right? And everyone always says to me, why do you like climbing mountains so much? And I'm like, because it's a little bit like life, right? It doesn't matter how hard times get or how difficult things are. Some people can't do this and other people's can. And I know you've had challenges in your life. Same with me. When my kid's mum passed away, that was a real big, like for me, that was like, shit, I've got to be there now. And I've got to support my daughter at the time, who was 14, and my son, who was, 18, and they just lost mum at such a young age. But as I say to them, look, it's like, life is like climbing the biggest mountain, right? It doesn't matter how hard it gets, as long as one step, and it doesn't matter how long it takes you need it, as long as you're moving one step forward, you're getting through whatever you need to get through, and you will reach the top of whatever that looks like for you. You will get to the top of that mountain. So there's other ways that you can look at life where, challenges do make champions, and we're all in our lives going to face some form of adversity. Doesn't matter what it is, personally and professionally. Life's not easy, But if you was, and I said this to my daughter, let's say there's a God and you're sitting and chatting to God and he says, right, this is the crack. I'm going to give you a heart, lungs, brain. I'm going to send you down to earth. These are all the things that you're going to go through. And this is how hard it's going to be. Would you still turn around to the big man and say, hell yeah, I want to give it a go? Or would you go, nah, fuck that, mate. I'm not interested. You would still say, yes, let's go. Let's go and give it a go. Because that's life. It's not easy. It's hard. It's difficult. But you can either sit there and exist in life, or you can push the boundaries and try and achieve great things and face every challenge that's thrown at you in life with just a head on and go, it's fine. You know what? I'm not afraid of storms. You can either run away from it and it'll be chasing you for as long as the storm's behind you, or you can just literally turn around and run into it. And you'll get through it a lot quicker if you're running into a storm than it would be if you were running away from it. So, that's kind of my philosophy on challenges and adversity is, I'm growing as an individual, and I'm elevating myself with every challenge that is thrown at me, both personally and professionally. And you just have to get through that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hinted on there where you were saying like you're like hiking, right? So in terms of like you going through the storm, right? Or as you said, the shit hits the fan. Could be personally, could be professionally. What are the things that you do that maybe help you outside of it, that just with your mindset help just give you a bit of ease or help things dissipate a bit? Do you do more? Do you use hiking as a way to kind of just relieve a bit of that pressure? Is anything you do through the hard times? Is there anything you do personally, like the gym or like you say hiking? Is there something else that's the opposite of?
I mean, the gym every single morning, 6 days a week. I'm in the gym. I've got a routine that I follow rigorously, where I wake up at 5 o'clock. I'm in the gym at 6. I train hard. I come home. I see my family. I spend time with my missus and my daughter, and and my son and my partner's son, and I'm surrounded by happiness. I'm surrounded by positivity, and I come into work and I try and inspire and motivate my leadership team. What I try and do, right, is, and this is just my opinion, is try and remove all negative energy from my life. It's negative. I don't want to know. Life's too short for people who look at life in a doom and gloom way. So I go to the gym, hike. I spend time with my family, my partner. I love spending time with my partner. She's such a positive, happy person. I love spending time with my kids. You know, my friends are really positive as well. I read a lot. I listen to podcasts. Maybe it's just my opinion and it's just my view on life that I know I'm alive and I feel grateful for the life that I've got. I feel grateful for the people that I'm around. And I just feel, you know, I'm very humble in terms of the life that I've got. So that gets me through any challenges that I face. Don't get me wrong, it's still hard. If a challenge comes,
Yeah, of course.
you know, it's still difficult and it's still testing, but I know I can get through it because of the positivity and the happiness that I've got in my life. And that really gets me through anything.
Yeah. I mean, well said. I think like you said there, it's interesting, you know, when you've got social media, you've got algorithms, you've got TikTok at the minute, right?
Yeah.
It's very similar to what you're saying, you know, like you deliberately surround yourself by positive things. You're not saying if something negative comes towards you, you're not going to carry through it. You're just not going to spend time on it, worrying about, like thinking about it. And it's which is true for things like social media today. You get more of what you focus on. Basically, that's your algorithm,
Thoughts
right?
become things. Look, thoughts do become things. So if you think life's difficult, if you think, Christ, this is hard and life's difficult and, you know, I can't do this and I can't do that, guess what? You're not going to do it. But it's that flip of a switch. And again, not everyone's like this, okay? You have to go through something really, really hard to, I believe, to build this mindset. And, you know, my life hasn't been easy. It's amazing now, but you know, the first years of my life until I was 20, brutal, really tough childhood. You know, bit of a knacker, and then getting to my 20s and my 30s, and still elevating and pushing myself. But there's been some life events for me that have been difficult, and now when I look at my life, I just push on, and that positivity, you know, thoughts do become things. So if I'm sitting there and thinking it's going to be a tough week, it will be a tough week. Again, I don't run away from that. I just know that if I'm sitting there and I'm thinking positive and, you know, I'm humble and I'm grateful for everything that I've got, I'll achieve much, much more in life, and the universe will give me abundance back. And that's not, you know, that's not being, you know, a spiritual guru or anything. It's just, if you think shit will happen. If you think good things will happen. It's proof.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about this
Yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you. I mean, I read something years ago about the reticular activation system, which is literally the scientific term of you see more of what you've got, like you're looking for, right? On the theme of like, I'll round it up on this kind of last question in terms of the positive side, right? So in terms of yourself, Samuel, like the industry you're in, and you look forward like the next 1 to 3 years,
Yeah.
what are the positive things that you're pushing for, you see on the horizon, or, you know, in terms of environment, in terms of the company, in terms of yourself? What are you looking forward to, or what are you striving for?
Personally, my kids elevating in life. My daughter is doing her GCSEs this year. You know, a lot of my time is supporting and encouraging her to get the best possible grade. She's really focused on what she wants to do in her life. You know, what A level she wants to do. She knows what degree she wants to do. She knows that she wants to go to Oxford Uni, and you know, so she's a big focus on my life because obviously, you know, through what she's been through over the last few years with losing a mum. I'm excited to see her grow and continue on this journey of, you know, being happy and having a good life and making a mum proud, and making me proud and making my missus Amy proud. My son, you know, he's elevating as well. He works at Samuel Knight. He's doing well. He's just about do his driving test, and you know, won't be long until he's buying his first house. And you know, he's been with his partner for 5 years, so I'm excited about seeing him, you know, was into a man. And my missus's partner, he's doing his A level, so it won't be long until he starts going to uni. So like focusing on family first for me is really important. Me and my missus, you know, continuing on our journey of happiness and whatnot. So I love all of that because that's what keeps, that's my why. My why is like my kids and my family is the reason why I am who I am and I do the things that I do. And then with I'm just about to graduate in June for a master's in psychology and business. So I put my dissertation in last week and I get my grades back in March. So I'm excited.
Wow.
You know, I'm going to get my cap and gown finally. And that's a big personal achievement for me because I got expelled from school for just being an actor, basically, you know, skiving and doing dumb shit as you do as a teenager. So, but I always knew I had the ability to go to uni and be a graduate. And obviously my life didn't go on that route. But when I got to an age where I was like, look, I've got, you know, some spare individual time that I want to go to uni and I want to prove that I can really push myself and challenge myself from an educational point of view. I completed my MBA, but the MBA wasn't as hard as the masters. So my MBA at Oxford Uni, not last year, year before, but the masters for me was a big thing because I love psychology. I analyze me all the time and the everything. I just love psychology. So to get a master's in business and psychology for me, standing in Newcastle, which is my home, you know, I've been here for 21 years now, nearly 22 years. That's a proud moment for me. So I'm really looking forward to that. Excited. That is definitely a big achievement for this year. And then with Samuel Knight is, you know, carrying on our journey in terms of building an amazing business that ultimately has the aspiration to become an employee-owned business. Because again, when I said, you know, it was my idea, but the idea didn't become what it is today just off the back of my idea. It was a collective result of individuals working really, really hard. And I want to repay that back to them. I want them to create generation wealth for themselves. And when it becomes an employee-owned business, that'll be a proud moment for me and the senior leadership team where we can really push this business then, because it kind of manages itself. When it's employee-owned, you don't need to manage anything because everybody's a shareholder and everybody's going in the same direction. So for me, that is a big goal for 2025 coming into 2026. I don't tend to plan any further forward than maybe a year to 2 years because, you know, life can throw you curveballs. One of the things that I've learned over the last few years is if you're focused on something so far in the future, you miss the here and now. And that took a lot of a deep dive on myself to stop focusing on, you know, in 2, 3, 4 years time, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It's like, live in the moment, you know, just live in the moment, enjoy the journey that you're on, the life that you've got. So that's there. So I'm only looking at this year and next year and, you know, just carrying on doing what we're doing and pushing forward as an organization. We've just set up a new business, which is flying, called Samuel Knight Data Centers. That's an exciting market to get into. You know, it's only been going really for we've been doing this data center market for about 2 years, but the business has only been going for probably about 3 weeks, and already we've secured over $300,000 worth of contracts. And I'm like, but you learn everything that you've learned over the last 10 years, and it really accelerates a lot quicker because you know all the challenges. So you kind of open this new company and you're like, oh my God, this is going really quick. So keeping everyone's feet on the ground is important to me with that business. And so it's exciting times.
Brilliant. I mean, thanks for coming on for a start. I think people watching this and listening to this will get a lot from that. Your energy kind of comes straight through the camera, which I love. And you mentioned there, you can see that you speak and you live from your why. As you mentioned, you've clearly got purpose. And I think that's good for other people to see and aspire to be like, I suppose. Again, thanks for coming on. And if there's somebody watching this or listening to this now, right, and let's just say they're stuck in a bit of a rut.
Yeah.
In business, in life, whatever, right? You've been through your hard times, your challenges. What's a simple thing they can do or think about to just get themselves out of a rut mentally, in terms of their business, in terms of, you know, how did they build up that resilience? How did they get through it?
You know what? Someone said this to me a long time ago and it stayed with me. You can't fly like a swan if you're surrounded by turkeys. So surround yourself with good people that share the same values as you, and you can create a sense of purpose in business that everybody aspires to. And you all go on the journey with each other, rowing in the same direction at the same pace towards the same goal. And that, for me, that would get you through anything. Because if you're just on your own and you're trying to achieve great things, it's really, really difficult. So you got to surround yourself with positive people. fitness and health, that's really important. Like, you sit there as a 20, a 30, and a 40-year-old, 50-year-old, you take for granted the health that you've got. So staying fit, staying healthy, and staying positive. If someone had said to me years ago, go to the gym and it will create a sense of positivity for you. I only really started training about 6 or 7 years ago. My era didn't really go to the gym. They sat in pubs and whatnot. I know obviously you were a footballer, so you had to focus on your fitness. But once I started training and getting myself fit, coming into my 40s, I'm in the best shape of my life. But not just physically, but mentally as well. The gym really does help create that I can take on anything. So staying fit, looking after your health and looking after your fitness, that's important. And I would say the final one is dig deep into your why. Find your why. And if you can find your why and you focus on that, you'll achieve the purpose at the end of it. So don't surround yourself with turkeys. Stay healthy and find your why, and everything else will just fall into place.
Brilliant. Again, thanks for coming on.
Okay.
We'll catch a coffee or a pint at some point soon as
good.
well. All right.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.